everybody, and welcome back to another issue of Hops Geek News. It is a podcast, if you can call it that, where we discuss news, we discuss comic books, we discuss pretty much anything that has to do with pop culture at this point, and we also discuss really delicious beers that we may or may not be drinking. I am one of your tonight. We have three co-hosts. I am Mash. Alongside me is the Hoppy Mommy, and we have our special guest on the night, Micah. So how are you guys doing? Hoppy, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. We just came off Hoppy Hour, so
We
I'm on
did.
my fourth beer. So I'm doing good. I'm drinking Other Half Brewing. We actually had this shipped to Florida at GB Bottle Shop. Like I popped my Other Half cherry maybe 6 months ago because a friend from New York finally mailed me some, and now we're
Shout out
actually
to
getting it in
Tracy.
Florida. So you're absolutely correct. It was Tracy.
Shout out to Tracy real quick. She's
Yes.
sending the treehouse hookups.
Yeah,
We're
she's
unofficial
awesome.
best friends, but yes,
But it's called Enhanced Mind, so I thought it was good for Xavier.
that is a
So since we're
cool
doing a whole
can.
X-Men theme, I know I couldn't even read. I'm like, is this an IP? I couldn't even tell because the lines, like I had to like carefully read it. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the can. It's pretty sweet. But yeah, so that's what I'm drinking tonight, and I'm ready to go and ready to talk some X-Men because Wolvie is obviously my favorite character, and he's a big
Yes.
part of the X-Men. But I think that our guest tonight knows probably way more than we do, just evidenced by his background.
We know nothing. Yes, tonight we have a guest
We
of
are
ours
Jon
who
Snow.
we
We
actually
know
had
nothing.
we were fortunate enough to hook up with through the Hops News as our main show, and we kind of just clicked through the nerd geekdom, all that kind of stuff. So, Micah, how are you doing? What are you drinking? And that is some killer artwork for anybody who can't see on the YouTube. He has Goku, he has Wolverine back there. He's got the Sean Marion jersey from throwbacks. He's
Yeah.
got it all, man. So, what are you drinking? How you doing?
What's up? Man, I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here with you guys. I really enjoyed the Hops News show, and the Geek Show's been fun so far. I've
Thank
been
you.
listening to that. Um, yeah, man. Yeah, I've got some still still art there from Old Man Logan. I got
Yes.
the chance to meet Mark Miller and
Oh shit.
and they had a bunch of, and he signed a bunch of that for me. And, I
Wow.
specifically love the one with him driving the Jeep when he's pissed off
Yeah.
because he's going to kill the Hulk.
That
but
is man, that's some killer artwork. That's pretty cool. You had the chance to meet him. Did you meet him like a Comic Con or?
yeah, they have a local Comic Con, and it's Galaxy Con.
Oh
It
yeah, I've
kind of
heard of
goes
it.
around the United States, yeah. And there's always been some pretty cool people there, and I was just like stoked, when I found out he was coming. I was like, ah, crazy. But but yeah,
So
man.
yeah, Mash is new to Wolvie comics, so I need to send you the Old Man
I
Logan
need
comics
to
because
make sure
that's
I
a
send you yours back
great
first of all.
Yeah.
storyline.
Yeah, I haven't
I
read it actually, so my
Yeah, I
bad.
should send you that, and then you can understand why I think that Hugh Jackman can so totally come into the MCU and still have it be in line with the
Mm,
comics.
mm.
All right. Well,
No, Micah.
yeah.
Uh-oh. I want to hear
Oh,
this
well, we're
already.
gonna
Come
get to
on.
this later. So
Oh.
we will get
Oh.
to this later. First of all, what beer you got over there? I know I saw you sipping on a little
Um.
something good.
Well, actually, it's kind of somewhat familiar to you guys. You guys had the brewer from Adroit Theory on,
God damn it. Yes.
uh, and they're like 45 minutes, well, an hour away from where I live.
Nice.
But we have it in our bottle shops down here, and it's Rebel. It's got Storm
Oh,
Shadow.
I saw that in
I'm
Yeah,
seeing that
table. Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah,
I've been seeing
Yeah.
that.
yeah. It's really good hazy imperial. I enjoy it. That's my last can. I had a 4 pack. I might have to get another one. And they have one with snake eyes on the front of it too. So
I saw that.
I'm gonna have to get both of them and drink both of them at the same time.
Yeah, well, we had
So
them on last week for Hoppy Hour, and they that's my scene, like heavy metal and beer. That is my scene right there. Um,
their
Pretty
beers are.
jealous.
I've had quite a few of their stouts, and I mean they started out making a Game of Thrones stout,
Oh, really?
and
Mm.
yeah, that was like the first beer we saw because we're close by,
Yeah.
and and then all of a sudden like their beer started blowing up in the bottle shops, and I mean just their stouts, their Russian Imperials are like that's
Huh.
all you need. It's just one of those.
I know, no kidding. One of those, and I'm like, you know what, guys, I'm good for the night. I'm just gonna sit here
I'm
and
going to bed.
I'm just gonna rethink life, take a little nap off on the side.
Yeah.
Sounds like breakfast to me.
Yeah, I know. Hoppy over there is like Imperial Stout. That's what I start with, and then I
It's
go.
so funny. One time we had an early morning
No,
happy
I feel
hour.
like it's been more than one time that you've drank in
Two
like the
times
heavy.
we've had an
All
early
right,
morning happy hour.
6 times, I swear. But no, that is they're the brewery who I've always seen, Tavor, and I've always loved their can art because again, the heavy metal aspect, and I need to get my hands on it at some point. So,
Right.
um,
There's
Well,
actually a petition going around to get it back to Florida, and I signed it the other
I'll
day.
sign that petition on your behalf. Idaho doesn't get anything, so
Well,
I'm
the
just on
person
my
that
own out
posted
here.
it, it was another podcast that I've randomly listened to, and they were like, "Oh, sign this." So I signed it, but then the person that's supposed to be distributing it down here or something was like, "Oh, it's already in the works." And he's like, "Well, sign it just in case." So
Sign it anyways.
yeah.
All right, say no more. Stop
Here,
yapping.
yes, take my firstborn. You're good. Just kidding. She's my favorite.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of the beers in Idaho. There's like a lot of seclusion, so I got to rely on other people or the places that actually will ship beer. But
But you send us good Idaho beer.
Idaho is
I
sneaky,
never thought
sneaky
I'd say
good.
that.
Idaho is sneaky good. I wasn't expecting it when I moved out here, but the beer
And you
scene in
guys,
Idaho is it's wicked good. I gotta say.
and you got that farm to glass too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
true.
All
Um,
right,
I'm
so
drinking in the meantime, real quick, because you sent me this beer. It's the O'Fallon. Their
it's
salted
not a Florida
caramel.
beer though.
It's no, it's I don't. God, I don't even know where it's from. It doesn't say, but it's a
I
salted
think it's from
caramel
somebody
pumpkin
somewhere
beer,
random,
and
like Ohio or something.
it's not bad. If it was a candy, it would be good. However, the aftertaste it leaves for me is I don't know how I feel about it. I honestly, it's kind of weird. Like again, it kind of almost tastes like it should be that candy that your grandma gives you. Like the caramel candies, things like that. But drinking it leaves a weird aftertaste. So I don't know. Maybe as I drink this beer and we go through the night, or maybe it's just because it's my third beer of the night. I don't know. We'll see.
My
Um,
grandma gave me that sticky candy that clumped together at
well,
Christmas.
you had like the caramel chews or like the hard
No, not the caramel.
candies. We had.
You just know those Christmas ones? I think you can find them at the Dollar Tree now, and they all clump together inside, but they
I
look
have no idea what
festive.
you're talking about. Does Mike, you got any idea what she's talking
Someone
about? I
does.
got no
yeah, I
idea.
do. I do know what she's talking about.
I have zero
I guess it
idea.
ceased to
Yeah.
exist in 1990.
Yeah, it
I
like
guess.
stopped. Like,
Sorry, as soon as
yeah, at
1990
some
hit, we're
point
like,
in
we're
time.
entering a new era.
Yeah.
All right, so Mash, what have you read
Oh,
slash watched this
yeah.
week?
So, when we're recording this, Halloween is this weekend, and by the time everybody listens to
Oh
this on
God, everybody will
Wednesday,
know who the president is by this
we will
time.
know.
Well,
I
let's
hope
not
to
talk about
God
that.
we know who the president is at this
Oh,
point. I
not like
can,
2000.
for my job's sake, I can't actually talk about this. But it will be November when you listen to this. But for now, I've been killing the Halloween movies. We watched 2018's version of Halloween,
Dude,
which
that was
was it
good.
was such a good God. I love that movie. It is. I was explaining it to the wife that Halloween one, and then you had all the stuff in between. Well, they got rid of all the stuff in between, and it was just a direct sequel to the very first
Didn't they
Halloween
even
movie.
ignore two?
I believe so because it
Because they're
takes
like,
place in a
he's
mental
killed five
hospital.
people. And I'm like, really? That's it? He's only killed five people?
Yeah, so it goes like in the new canon, it's just Halloween 1 and then it skips right to this, but they released it. I'll get to this in a minute, but they released a new trailer for next year. It's coming out on my birthday. No big deal. They did it for me. Shout out Danny McBride. But we also watched Teen Witch, which is a 1988 movie. My wife wanted to watch it. It was really awful. God, I don't recommend anybody watch this movie. I don't even know what it's about. I fell asleep halfway through because I'm an old man, but that's pretty much it. I'm picking up the Batman Three Jokers finale that came out this past week, so I'm going to be picking that up hopefully this weekend and diving into that because that has been a phenomenal storyline. If anybody gets a chance, pick up Batman Three Jokers, and because it was really good. Other than that,
Yeah.
what about you, Hoppy? What have you been diving into?
I did watch the new Halloween. I actually really enjoyed it. I'm not a huge slasher fan. I do it at
Ooh.
Halloween, but this one was actually good. And I really like Jamie Lee Curtis. And I love that the first Halloween was her first movie. Because, I've seen her in all sorts of things. I mean, True Lies, she was awesome in. And those yogurt commercials, I mean,
My
everybody loves
friends
those.
or my wife's friends, weirdly enough, have a weird crush on Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't see it personally, but
No, I think she's awesome. But have you seen True Lies?
a long time
Yes.
ago.
Oh man.
She was
All I can
awesome
see.
in True Lies.
Oh,
Oh,
all I
Micah's
can
like,
see
hell
is
yeah, Jamie Lee.
No, all I can see is her hanging out of the helicopter. She's like,
Oh,
"Yay!"
she's screaming while holding on to things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Arnold's like, nah.
I love when he has a truth
Oh shit,
serum and
man.
she's like, but do you kill people? Yes, but they were all bad. That's an amazing
I need
movie.
to
And I
go
love
back and
that they
revisit this movie now.
so do you know they actually blew up the 7 Mile Bridge in the Keys and they didn't like how it blew up, so they rebuilt it and then blew it up again.
That is power
So
that only money can buy, my friends.
right. So that's a fun fact.
Yes.
That is power
s-
only Arnold Schwarzenegger can buy, actually.
The
so
power of 90s Arnold.
Hell yeah.
that is true.
Yeah.
90s
Very true.
Arnold.
90s Arnold was a force to be reckoned with.
That should
Kindergarten
be like a
Cop, a
form for
classic.
somebody.
But that's pretty much all I watched was Not True Lies, Halloween. And then I read The Boys Omnibus Volume 3. Really good. I think it was my favorite. I'm only on the third volume. First and two were good, but this one was even better because I met Stormfront and I met Soldier Boy.
In
Um,
person?
oh, in person, yes. Jensen Ackles came to my house. It was amazing.
He's like,
Okay.
hey.
And he brought his Cosmic Cowboy IPA.
That's not all
Woof.
he brought.
I need a moment now.
Anyways,
Okay. So Soldier Boy though, he really does do that cheesy 50s talk, and when he fights, he randomly yells out states. And I had heard that, but when I was reading it, I was like, "Oh, he literally is like punching people. It's like, Nebraska,
I gave her the old
Idaho."
Arkansas.
No, he literally just says the states. So it's really interesting. And they did mention so Stormfront is technically a good guy at this point, but they do mention that he used to be a villain. And they're like, "Don't you like being a hero now more than a villain?" And you meet them at what's called Hero Gasm.
That's what I have.
I don't know if we'll ever see Hero Gasm in the Prime
Ooh,
universe because
I hope we do.
I don't know if they have that kind of I don't think they can do that. I think it might need to move to HBO. I don't know.
Ah, got you.
Yeah, but yeah, so it was really good. I'm really enjoying reading the comics. I think it's been awesome. I can't wait to pick up volume 4. So,
Nice.
so
Micah,
Micah,
what have you been diving in? Have you been watching anything good? Have you read anything good?
Well, um, well, as far as new comic books go, I just really haven't had the time,
The Boys is
unfortunately.
old.
And I just recently started watching that on Amazon. So like I didn't even know, like I kept seeing all the reviews and stuff on like people doing reviews on YouTube, and I was like, man, what is this? And I like looked it up, and I was like, holy crap! So I started watching it, and me and my wife have really gotten into it. Uh, it's pretty good. Like I was like, wow, this is a cool thing.
Right.
Um, but as far as watching stuff, I've been watching Hellstrom on Hulu, and I was kind of skeptical at first because Damian Hillstrom's a Marvel character. He really never really had a huge uh, you know following, I guess, but they made him kind of popular in New Avengers when they did that run. Brian Michael Bendis did that run with like Doctor Strange and Luke Cage and Spider-Man, and they fought this guy who was possessed by Dormammu called the Hood. He
Yeah,
was
oh yeah,
basically
yeah.
like so, and they brought Hellstrom into that. So I remembered him from there, and I was like, man, this guy's kind of like like a underpowered John Constantine. But the show's been pretty good. It's really graphic. I was really surprised.
Hmm.
Um, and like, I mean, the main focus is like demonology, which it goes so far till you start to lose interest. But
Hmm.
I think they did a good job with the actors. The show's been pretty good so far. Um, and as far as like comics, I still keep up with the X-Men, like what's going on with the X-Men right now, which is it's amazing. Jonathan Hickman's writing it, so I mean, I'm a huge Hickman fan, so it's been really good. But unfortunately, like I haven't been able to buy any, so I kind of live off of comics explained on YouTube. So, uh,
That's actually a good idea. I
um,
haven't even thought about that before. Because I get behind in a bunch too, so I'm gonna have to like dive in at work tomorrow, just play it all different kind of things, so I can get caught up in a lot of different storylines.
yeah. Yeah, but it's a really good storyline. I don't know if you guys have paid attention to what's going on. Basically, all the mutants are on Krakoa. If you know what Krakoa, who Krakoa is, he's a living mutant island,
Yep.
and it's just not to get into. It would take me forever to explain what's going on because Hickman is everywhere. But I mean, it's pretty badass. Everybody's there, even Apocalypse. Apocalypse is like among them,
Mm.
so it's like holy crap! Like
Yeah, he's just
it's
like
been really
walking.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're like friends with Apocalypse. What's going on? Like this is
Huh.
crazy. So
Nice. Yeah. So
Nice.
I've Hobby got me the
Let's
first
move
three
on to
editions of that. I haven't fully read past it yet. I got to get her copies back, but I know there's a lot of like false friendships, things like that going on behind the scenes. So I can't wait to read that. Yeah,
I
next.
just sent him the Wolverine version. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean she
With
did send me the Wolverine version, so I'm kind of want to see
Dracula
what's happening with
and
Wolverine.
Omega Red. Yeah.
Um, so I X-Men's one of those things I need to dive into more because there's a lot of good storylines. But we do have some news this week. There's not as last week was a lot heavier news. There was just feels like there was so much news thrown all over our face, whereas this week is a little lighter. So to dive a little into that,
This isn't
since
OnlyFans. Nothing's all over our face.
yes, so nothing's all
Sorry.
over, not all over our face right now. That's only either at work or OnlyFans. Um,
At
Hocus,
work.
you can tell. No, Hocus Pocus 2.
Hocus
So
Pocus
it is.
2.
It is for all you young listeners out there. Hocus Pocus. It's a timeless Halloween classic movie. And that was actually when Sarah Jessica Parker was the last time she was remotely attractive. If she listens to this, I'm sorry, but
Hey.
that's the last time.
There were times she was attractive in Sex in the
It
City.
was just Hocus
What about
Pocus.
Mars Attacks?
Hocus Pocus was the last time Sarah Jessica Parker was attractive.
You dying on that hill?
I will
All
die on
right.
that hill. So yeah, the cast confirmed that they're going to come back for Hocus Pocus 2. So
I
that's
still
pretty
love you,
exciting.
Sarah Jessica Parker, if you're listening.
So does Matthew Broderick. They're married, right? Are they still married? They had kids. I don't know.
Yeah,
He killed a guy in
they
Ireland and
do.
got away with it. That's what I know.
Did he do it just to watch him die?
He hit that person with a car. You know what? We're getting off the rails. Anyways,
He's Simba.
you
Okay.
know,
So yes.
he is in
Focus,
Godzilla.
focus. Muck, muck, muck.
I am curious to see what the storyline might be and if they're going to bring any of the callbacks, to the old, Thackeray Binks and all them. So how do
Ooh.
you feel about Hocus Pocus 2? Are you excited? Anybody excited about this besides me?
I mean, I think the first movie will be a standalone movie no matter how good or bad this one is.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with them still doing it. Obviously they're going to have an audience. Obviously my kids and I are definitely going to watch it because we watch Hocus Pocus every year. And I say go for it. All three of these women are still famous. I feel that they wouldn't commit to a role that wasn't not worthy of Hocus Pocus 1, but worthy of a sequel to Hocus Pocus 1.
Yeah, I was thinking the
And
same thing.
yeah. And Thora Birch was actually in Walking Dead. I know I talked about
Really?
Walking Dead a lot recently, and she was in season 10. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I knew they weren't going to, nix her immediately because she was Thora Birch.
Everybody
So it
has
was
stopped
exciting to see
watching at
her.
this point, so that's
And
why nobody
anybody
knew.
who doesn't know, though, she's actually named after Thor. So her parents named her after Thor. That's why her name's Thora.
Hmm.
I learned that when I was researching names
I
for my
haven't
daughter.
I don't think I've recognized her since Hocus Pocus, but
She looks exactly the same, but with boobs.
huh.
Very big boobs. And anybody who's seen Now and Then knows she has big boobs.
Interesting. Interesting. Micah, what is your take on Hocus Pocus? Are you excited for a little reunion of sorts?
well, yeah, totally. We have that movie, obviously. It's a huge favorite in the house. My girls and my wife love that movie. So, I mean, anytime you have an awesome movie and they make a second one, I mean, you're gonna want to watch it. So,
Unless
yeah,
it's
bring it
Zoolander
on.
2
Oh, that was terrible.
or
Uh,
Anchorman 2 or
Oh,
that's
Anchorman
a
2, I
little
couldn't even
different. Yeah.
finish. Oh, Matt, you
No,
just ruined this segment.
God.
anything like that is a one-off. One hit wonder. Go away.
I agree. Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you to bring us back. Oscar Isaac has been tapped to play Moon Knight. They've also called for 4 Egyptian characters. They're casting for 4 Egyptian characters, so that kind of falls in line with Muhammad Diab. I am not the best at name pronunciation. I apologize. He is Egyptian, and he's going to be directing the movie. So they're bringing some of the Egyptian lore into it, and they're casting a lot of Egyptian characters, things like that. And so, for anybody who doesn't know, Moon Knight is he's an ex-marine, Mark Spector, who has alter egos, and that kind of allows him to fight crime. And I personally am excited because Oscar Isaac is dope. I love that man in anything he's
Isn't
in.
he Apocalypse?
He's Apocalypse. We forget Apocalypse. We're gonna get to this because yes,
Sorry.
he's technically
Whatever.
Apocalypse, but that movie should have brought about the apocalypse, and we should all forget
Well, and I
about it.
think most people would recognize him from Star Wars. Yeah,
Well,
that
yes,
movie
he
did
is
bring
Poe
about the
Dameron in
apocalypse. Yeah.
Star Wars, which again, let's just forget those movies ever happened as well. And then he played in Deus Ex Machina, so he was in that. He's fantastic. Any movie he's in, he is just really killing it. What do you guys think about this?
Moon Knight is one Hop Heroes talks about a lot. I can't remember if they love it or hate it.
I'm not familiar with the character, or I'm gonna be honest, Moon Knight's not one that I'm very familiar with. He's probably the
Yeah.
lesser of the knowns that I'm familiar with.
I'm not familiar with it at all personally, but I feel like it's been mentioned on Hop Heroes, and that's the only reason I even know what it is.
What do you think, Micah? What are we
Well,
feeling?
I mean, I spent some time. I enjoy Moon Knight. I spent some time, reading some of his comics. He's an interesting character, just because he has schizophrenia.
I was gonna say, isn't he
Um,
like very sarcastic and
Oh.
can be vulgar at
yeah,
times?
it's like like Deadpool is sarcastic, vulgar, but it's like breaking that fourth wall, and it's
Yeah.
like Deadpool's just on this whole other plane. But it's like tone down Deadpool just a little bit
Hmm.
and throw him into this absolutely like just bonkers like thing that you're watching, and you have like and then also integrate, like, because he has Batman aspects, like he's dark like Batman. A lot of his, like, the gadgets and stuff that he uses, but is like Batman. um
Hmm.
but the cool thing about him is you're just not sold on him. Like the whole time you're like, this is not cool, like what is going on? And then all of a sudden he gets like this crazy power up and he beats the shit out of somebody, and it's like, holy crap, that was cool. And you don't know whether or not he powered up from the moon, like
Yeah.
was the moon full, or he,
Oh.
it's really just kind of a confusing thing. And um he's
Hmm.
had just like a smorgasbord of writers. And I still have yet to really like read a really, really great Moon Knight comic, but Oscar Isaac is a good actor.
Yeah.
Um, and Marvel hasn't really screwed up, as far as,
Inhumans.
well, that I don't,
I'm sorry.
that
What was
was,
that? We
uh,
don't know what that is. Was that an alternate timeline,
we don't,
perhaps?
yeah, we don't talk about Inhumans here, Korg, but like
I
that
always
was,
use that as the
oh,
exception. I
So
trust the MCU except for Inhumans.
I do wonder then, if he's akin to like a Deadpool like character, is this their way of seeing if there's a big reception, perhaps if this does well, and say he is this like sarcastic kind of asshole like character, if he does well, are we going to see maybe, okay, maybe Deadpool can work in the Disney universe, Marvel universe? So I wonder if this is
Oh yeah,
like
he
a
can.
two-sided kind of, we're going to launch this character that not a lot of people know, and then at the same time this could be our way to also see if Deadpool has potential or legs in the Marvel universe.
Maybe. I mean, there have been rumors that Deadpool's going to be the new Stan Lee as far as the cameos in the MCU movies, which I think would be amazingly beautiful.
I
I
am here
think,
for it.
honestly, I think Disney would be stupid not to continue with the Deadpool movies. I mean, you got to keep them rated R, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's still such a target audience for it, and you can have them relate to the other movies, but not have the kids be required to see them. But like the way these generations are growing up, it's like, like you are in love with Harry Potter, and it's like as you grew up, the movies got more so for your age.
They
So
definitely got
leave
darker.
Deadpool in
Yeah.
there. So as these kids grow up, then they can watch this movie.
Yeah, they can be
And
loosely connected to the rest of the universe. They don't have to
right,
put a major storyline that you have to watch before Avengers. But at the same time,
right.
like,
MCU is great at that. Right.
I would hate for Ryan Reynolds the things that he went through to bring that
To
character to
get
life,
Deadpool.
to just
Yeah.
kind of be sidelined by
Just
a deal
dissipate.
because he was the best thing to happen to Fox, first of all, and then he is
Oh
that
yeah.
character. So
Hmm.
it would really suck if we don't get to see Ryan Reynolds take up Deadpool ever again. But I'm confident that we will.
All right.
Um,
So let's talk about Michael Bay. Oh, sorry.
oh,
uh,
yeah. So as I mentioned already, we had the Halloween trailer that came out. It was supposed to have been out in October 2020. Um, I'm not going to spoil the latest Halloween movie if you haven't seen it, but it will be out October 15th. Shout out to me because it's my birthday of 2021.
You'll
In
be
the trailer,
31. Nobody
I will be
cares.
31 at that point, and we really don't care until you're 40 because nothing happens. Um, yeah, so I don't really. There's supposed to be two
All right,
more
Michael
Halloween
Bay.
movies coming out. Anyways, Michael
Oh,
Bay.
you're still talking about really two more. Oh,
Yeah, they're supposed to come out with two more Halloween movies, and then that might be it until somebody decides to bring him back from the dead. But I'm interested to see how they do it. I'm here for it. I love Michael Myers. He's my favorite. But speaking of favorites, everybody's favorite director, Michael Bay, who won't sleep on a chance to beat something to death, he
including
has,
himself.
including his, yeah, he has a movie called Songbird. It's coming out at some point. I don't know if it's going to streaming. Don't know if it'll never go to theaters. It's takes place about 4 years into the COVID quarantine, and you're like in this post-apocalyptic world. They call it COVID 23 at this point.
Oh,
There's a
goodness.
girl, there's like some dude who's immune to it, and like there's the military everywhere, and there's a trailer for it today. It looks like your typical Michael Bay. You see like action shots of somebody on a motorcycle, the military yelling at people to stop, somebody beating down this girl's door. She's just like stuck in her apartment because somebody in her apartment apparently tested positive for coronavirus. And I'm just like, what? You see somebody even with like a face mask on and everything. So we've already got our first coronavirus movie coming out, and no thanks to Michael Bay. If he just never directed another movie again, it would be too soon. I don't like Michael Bay, but
I don't think anybody does at this point,
he
honestly.
wrote, oh, God. So yeah, try it. Now's your chance. Jump all over COVID. It's your chance. And then the last bit of news that I have is that Hawkeye, the TV series, is going to be filming at the Tyler Perry Studios. So who knows? Maybe we'll get Medea in the background. Medea goes
Yeah,
Avengers.
I saw they were making jokes about that.
Yeah, I'm excited. Tyler Perry, he's got good directing chops, and he plays a really good serious actor. I don't care for the media character, but I don't know if that's the
Medea. I don't think I've
I
never
don't think
seen
I'm the
any of it.
audience for those movies, anyways. However, but whatever.
The commercials always gave me a Nutty Professor vibe, but I've seen the Nutty Professors, but I've never actually seen a Medea's.
Yeah, I haven't either. But
All right.
what do you got?
I don't have much. Netflix will be doing a live action Assassin's Creed series. There was a 2016 movie
Are
with
you
Michael
telling me Michael
Fassbender,
Fassbender didn't blow your
Magneto.
socks off?
I didn't even see it. It
I
did
didn't
not do
either.
well. But there's no release date for the series. Hopefully, next Netflix does it well and doesn't cancel it at the height of their
They will
amazingness.
cancel it at season 3 because they don't like their viewership. They don't like anything. They will cancel it so they don't have to pay their actors.
They're angering me. I'm going to stop watching their original stuff.
If T-Mobile didn't pay for Netflix, I wouldn't have Netflix.
I would still have it because I've had it for 15 years now.
Let it go.
I used to get the DVDs. I will never do that
Honestly, I did
now.
too, but
All right. Still no date for WandaVision. Falcon and Winter Soldier still actually say fall 2020. So I feel
going
like
into
at this
winter
point
now.
Disney Plus is just fucking with us. So I don't know.
Yeah, they finished filming for Falcon and Winter Soldier, but
Yeah, and didn't you say there was a release date for WandaVision in like another
well,
country?
I there was like rumors or like it was listed as far as like December in some
Yeah.
random country, but I don't think that's accurate. I think they were still filming, so don't know if they finished filming for WandaVision, but I knew Falcon and Winter Soldiers for sure. It's wrapped.
I mean, I don't
You
know
get
why
your
they're being like
I
that though. But well, when did we find out about Mandalorian?
Mandalorian we found out in like September. So I
Okay,
mean,
so we had a good heads up, but they were done filming that for
it's
a
not going to be
while.
fall of 2020 because at this point you're probably going to get a month heads up and you're going to get a foul. I expect, if anything, you're going to get a trailer for Falcon and Winter Soldier probably
Yeah,
sometime
we got
around
that.
Thanksgiving. If I was a betting man, I would say
Yeah,
around Thanksgiving.
I'd be
I,
shocked if we
even
got
on the
them in
Thanksgiving football
2020.
games, you might even get a Falcon Winter Soldier, just because that's a big marketing day. Everybody's watching TV. But yeah, other than that,
Not with
we
their
have no
family members
dates.
because you're not allowed to do that.
Mandalorian at this point is out. Episode 1 is out, so we
Oh
will
my
talk
gosh, it
about
was
that.
so amazing.
It was amazing. I'm saying that and I haven't seen it yet, but I
We
can
don't know.
guarantee you it was dope.
Should actually say it was terrible.
This shit sucked. They killed Baby Yoda. How dare they? Or the
His name's
child.
the child.
His name's the child. So that is it for news. Micah, did you have anything that you wanted to talk about for news at all? I know we kind of got crazy there, but
Uh, no. Well, I was thinking about the Justice League Snyder cut. I've heard some news about that. You know, I'm pretty hyped about it. So it
I
looks
see
like
you're
we
a
might.
man of culture as well.
Yeah. I do love my DC comics.
That
I
is
like
those are my favorites.
My
Yes.
Bat family. Yeah. So, but yeah, they said that there's a whole lot more Jim Gordon. You guys were talking about that, but
And we
a
even
whole
get
lot more of
glimpse
him
of
in
the
there.
Joker.
And yeah, we're gonna get the Joker. It's gonna
Listen,
be
Jim Gordon was ripped. Did you see
yeah.
the pictures of J.K. Simmons working out before that movie was even made? Like that dude is jacked. Do
It's
not
like
with J.K. Simmons because that man is ripped.
why did he? But it's like he got ripped for like 5 minutes.
Listen,
Like
if I'm gonna be in a
Maybe it
movie,
was
I'm
for
getting
those
ripped. I don't
state.
care if it's 30 seconds of fame or not. I'm getting
It
ripped.
might have been for those State Farm commercials. Maybe he goes out there and actually
He's
lifts
got to go
trees
out there.
off
Yeah, he's got to like.
cars.
There's some little baby trapped under all this wood from a broken house or something. He's lifting it off these children. He's a man of the people.
Exactly. He's doing his part. He's the flow that we really need. He's the
It
flow with
is true.
muscles.
I am super stoked for the Snyder cut. Because everything they're $70 million in reshoots. They're filming. Ben Affleck is back in the Batsuit filming right
Oh,
mm,
now.
thank God.
yeah,
Reshoots. First of all, I thought Ben Affleck was a really good Batman. I didn't. Or
agreed.
I always feel like Thor. Was he though?
he encapsulated Bruce Wayne to me. There's
Oh,
he
an
kind of
arrogant
he's kind of
ass.
like, well, yeah, that's what Bruce Wayne is. He has to play that arrogant
But the
asshole.
best part about him being Batman was him in the new Jay and Silent Bob movie.
Yes.
You
But
can't deny
I,
that.
I will say Ben Affleck, it's great to see him healthy. It's great to see him back. I haven't seen him in the bat suit, but it's gonna be great to see him reprising that role.
Was he not healthy?
He was an alcohol. He was going through a divorce with Jennifer Gardner, and he was actually had an alcohol addiction. So during the reshoots
Oh.
that Joss Whedon did, you can tell his face is a lot puffier and all that because he was going through a lot
Oh.
of shit at that time. Whereas now, like he is lean, he is mean, he's looking good.
Huh.
Yeah, he's in really
I
great
did not know
shape
that
right now,
because
and he kind of got his life back together.
well, I know when he was filming the first Batman, like Jennifer Garner actually made a comment on some show that it was like dating a new man because he was so like cut and everything.
Yeah, well, I think I think he had cheated on her, and then he fell into that alcohol addiction hole, and so they divorced, and he was going through his shit, and he went and got fixed, and now he's looking great. Him, Gal
He
Gadot,
got fixed.
and I want
Sorry.
to say,
That
of
means
course,
something else in our house.
well, I mean, I went through that too, but Jared Leto is. I'm gonna give Jared Leto another chance to see what because David Ayer's cut of maybe we'll get another cut
Didn't have
of
much time.
Suicide
Mm,
Squad.
yeah.
That's another thing. There's a lot of meddling, but yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Now onto the reason why you all might have come here, all 19 of you. Um,
I
like I said, Micah is
don't
our
know why I
guest.
laughed so hard
He
at our
is
Lowit.
he's come to us through our Hops News, which is the main show that we do, the Hoppy Hour. I know you do a lot of home brewing, and this weekend coming up, by the time you listen to this, it's National Homebrewers Day, and so we'll get into the comic book stuff in a second. But what was your introduction into beer then, and how did you kind of get into the home brewing scene?
Well, I've always loved beer. I've always been a kind of a I don't know a wayfinder or something with beer. Like I don't know, I love it. So I was drinking craft beer when I was like 19. Well,
Damn.
I'm not. I was drinking craft beer when I was 21.
I mean, I was
That's still
definitely
impressive.
of
Yeah.
age.
Yeah, yeah. Magic Cat Brewing Company was my oh man, that was my thing, man, when I was like
I do love
21,
Magic Hat.
19,
They are really
21.
good.
Uh, so, but yeah, like I've always loved beer. And like our area here, like in Virginia, where I'm at, I'm in the Shenandoah Valley.
Hmm.
And it's just, Blue Ridge Mountains is just a beautiful place to be, especially right now in the fall. And
Oh
we
yeah.
have a ton of amazing breweries here, and just drinking the beer around here for for a while just set me on this course of I want I'm a cook. you know I wouldn't call myself a chef because I never trained there, but I'm a cook. I like to cook, so if I can't make it myself, then I don't want to continue to participate in it. So I just started home brewing about 2 years ago. And out of that, we've had a really good amber ale. We've been able to the home brew that I named a Super Game Genie amber ale. And we just me and my wife just brewed a lemon shandy,
Ooh.
which was which I souped up with nugget hops, and it was pretty badass. I called that the Pennyworth
Oh, that's
lemon
a good
shandy.
name.
Yeah, because I mean he's Australian, and it's just
Yeah.
and Alfred's like one of my favorite characters in all of comics. So it's like, yeah, I got to name one after him. So and it turned out well, and recently we made a hard cider, and that was my first attempt at making a hard cider, which is really easy, but it came out at like 12%, and it's just been like this
Damn.
little boozy thing in our refrigerator. Um,
Jeez.
so, and I named that the ginger turd. Uh, it didn't really get a superhero name, but I'm got a smoked porter I want to make here soon, and I
Mm.
want to call Old Man Logan,
Yes.
because
Ooh.
that's my like alpha of Wolverine versions. It's just such a good read, and
Right.
such a great character.
Even though
Um,
he says in it he would only drink Canadian lagers, but you know that he would appreciate something much better.
yeah, I just had to go a little darker.
Hmm.
I would love to put it in like a Canadian whiskey barrel if I could get a hold of one.
Oh,
Damn.
Uh, but that's if I was able to get a hold of one, I will definitely put it in there.
Yeah.
But it's a
that
smoke
sounds
it's
good.
a smoked porter with chili peppers.
Oh,
Um,
You lost me.
that's not, no,
so
you gained me like on
God, I can't
episode
do
like,
spicy. Oh no.
oh no, you
well,
just
it's not
you went from
really.
here to up here with
It
that.
doesn't hit you like a habanero or something. It's more of a subtle, spice
Yeah.
that, you know. And then I'll probably put in a secondary fermenter with some raspberries. So I just like raspberries with a porter. It's really
I
good.
mean that's that
Yeah.
good smoky sweet kind of flavor on the back end. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
agree with
raspberry
that.
porters are usually good.
So, but yeah, 2 years of home brewing here. I kind of turned my garage into a little bar like place, and hopefully, I got a lot of friends that are involved, and I take six packs to them, and we hang out, and we shoot it on geek stuff. I got a lot of video game buddies, a lot of Marvel friends, and
Nice.
we this is kind of it's kind of turned into a little culture here, in our small town, and it's just been a lot of fun.
So is it just you and the wife who brews, or do like you said, you get connected with friends? Do they come over and help you brew a little bit too to kind of learn how the process goes?
Not yet. I do have some of that lined up. I've got a good friend that's supposed to come by. He homebrewed for a while, and he's been kind of a mentor to me. And he's going to help me brew one sometime, probably in the winter. We've talked about making like a wintry ale. Um,
Mm,
I really like wintry ales. With
hmm.
like you know all those types of like cranberry and whatever else we could do. Um,
Right. But they're still
and
dark with like good
Yeah.
flavor in them.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I'm dark as dark can go. That's my favorite beer. Like give me stouts, give me, give me dark ales, give me strong ales, please. It's my thing. Um, and also I will hopefully soon brew with my brother, who is a huge beer enthusiast, he lives in the heart of Richmond, Virginia.
Ooh, they got
And
some
it
good
just
breweries out there too.
Yeah, giving a shout out to Scott's Edition in Richmond. And if you're a craft beer drinker, you just take a weekend, find a hotel there, and go there and drink at all the breweries because it's by far like one of the best places to go in the country. It's so awesome. Uh, but
Yeah, there's
yeah,
a lot of Richmond. I drove through there. I wanted to just stop there because you got like the Vale and stuff like that. I just
yeah,
didn't.
the Vale is a just a you know people who are listening that love beer. The Vale is that should be on your bucket list.
Mhm.
That's like sours. As far as
Yes.
sours go, oh man, I've never had anything like it. And specifically, what they do with the IPA, you will never have an IPA like what they make anywhere else. They actually when me and my wife went there the last time, which was during the summer, they had a pineapple uh, like it was a pineapple IPA, and it had so much more going on with it, but it was in a slushy machine,
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
heck
and
They
it
yeah.
was
do
like,
that down here, yeah.
and I was like, holy crap!
Interesting.
And they poured that halfway, and then they topped it off with something else, and like gave it to us, and I was just like, dude, this was really cool. Uh, but yeah, yeah,
So I know we had mentioned or we had talked. You kind of don't you do like a monthly or every so often you kind of get friends together and do some sort of I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but like geek get together is kind of like the basic way that I remember it. What is it that you kind of get everyone together and do?
well, I kind of keep in touch with everybody. We all work labor intensive schedules because we're all factory workers. But when we do get together, we usually get together, and it's for the purpose of just. I'm a big. My whole thing with all of this is the comic book store atmosphere. I feel like that the generations, like my kids, like I want them to experience that because I grew up in comic book stores. Like that was my thing. Saturday morning, I was at the comic book store. I saved my money all week long to buy a comic book, and I'm at a comic book store now. You can download one or order it or whatever.
True.
But I want like there was always this talk in the comic book store, like these old like or even young, but like heads like in there, talking about comics, and you're like, holy crap, they're talking about Green Lantern from the '80s when I wasn't around, and I'm sitting here with a Spider-Man comic book, and you know, and to interact with every walk of life, because I mean, everybody loves comics. I mean, and you could just interact with every age group. Um, and I just want to recreate that atmosphere, in a small group setting. If it gets bigger, it gets bigger.
Hmm.
But, um, that's what we strive for when we do get together. So,
Right. No, I mean, I genuinely look forward to picking up my comics and talking with whether it's Al or Juan or like who, what's going on, and they're just so excited to talk comics. And honestly, before Mash and I started doing this, that was my only outlet because none of my other friends give a fuck.
Yeah, none of mine care about craft beer or comic books, so this
Right.
has definitely been a really good outlet where we can just kind of talk about all those things and try
Right.
different new things or learn and all that kind of stuff. Because I never like hobby, I never had that outlet either. So
I have a few friends that will kind of go off on tangents a little bit at like beer tastings, and I've gotten some of my friends into the movies, but I'm not going to be like, "Oh, you like the movies? Read this comic." Like I know where to stop. So, so yeah, that's always been a great outlet. And one of the breweries in our area was looking to open in East Orlando, and they looked at a space that was like 20 feet from my comic book shop. Of course, it didn't happen, but I was like losing my mind. And I even told him, I'm like, because the guy that owns the comic book shop, I've run into at a beer fest, and he homebrews. So I'm like, oh my god.
this would
Bowman
be
Hill needs
amazing.
to open up, and then you guys can have events and like I'm like, It's happening. It's like worlds colliding, but in a good way. I'm
It's
like George
happening.
Costanza, but like positive. Yes, worlds colliding. But it did not happen. They're now opened up inside Castle Creek, not Castle Creek, Castle Church Brewing. And
Hmm.
but it's still exciting, and I still love going there. But it's hard to combine those two, and I agree. It's like it's fun. So why don't more people want to delve into that?
Yeah.
We do
I
have a
mean,
bottle shop though, that well, a comic book shop that you go through the comic book shop, and it's a craft beer bar.
Dang, that is the dream.
It's called Geek Easy.
Hmm.
I mean, it's one of those things, you're right, where why don't we have more of this thing? And
There's a market, yeah.
I think maybe we will as time goes on, because in the early '90s, things like that, comics were not as accepted as they were now. Let's be honest.
Oh, I didn't read them in the
I mean,
90s.
'80s, '90s, you were
Only
kind of
dorks read them then.
that's what I'm saying. Is you were kind of looked down on. Is it if you were kind of reading these kind of things, and you know 2000s brought us the X-Men movies, it brought us Spider-Man, it brought us Christian Nolan came out with Batman Begins, Dark Knight, which Dark Knight changed the comic book movie world forever. um and then now Kevin Feige and what they have done with the Marvel universe, Robert Downey Jr. taking up the Iron Man mantle, and that was really like their first step into movies, and it was
Mhm.
successful. And so it's more acceptable to be into these things. We're living in a time in a world that, yeah, we can definitely openly talk about and just geek out about these comic books and these movies, and you
Right.
get to go to conventions, at least before the coronavirus hit.
Right.
And then that was like your place, because before that you didn't have any of that. So I
Right.
think as we progress, we might be able to see some more of these beer comic book type things, because I can only imagine if like breweries kind of did like a beer festival in conjunction with a
There's
comic book convention.
definitely a cross market for that,
There
100%.
is, and maybe what, I'm gonna go out. Let's start the first one. We're gonna start the first one, but
Well, Modern Times, if you go to the one in San Diego, they have a whole wall that is comic books. It's just
yeah,
decoupaged and it's beautiful. But yeah, no, because I feel like I'm in between that, like, oh, okay, it's the 90s and you have to be a quote unquote, I don't know, screech dork or whatever to read comics, and then to where it's completely acceptable. Like I feel like I found them in between that because
yeah,
nobody ever handed me a comic book and was like, you should read this. So it's like I got into it on my own,
yeah.
which you
You had
can
to
see
search
in
it
our
out.
origin story.
Yeah,
Well, it's just asking friends, like, well, why did this happen in that movie, and what happened in the comic books with this story, and I wanted to know more.
yeah. So speaking, comic books, how it all began, like I mentioned, X-Men kind of started. I think it was 2000 was when the first
Yeah,
X-Men movie came out.
before
Um,
Spidey.
Micah, I know you had mentioned you were a big X-Men fan. I mean, were DC Nightwing was one of your favorites, um, but X-Men was something that you had a lot of knowledge on. So today's topic, we're going to talk about X-Men, to which I enjoyed the movies. I can't say that for all of them, of course.
Nobody can.
Nobody should love every single movie. The 2000 X-Men, it was good, but then
2000
X
X-Men was good.
it was good because it was your first introduction to X-Men and all
Right.
that. So before we get into the
And
movie,
Hugh Jackman.
and yeah, Hugh jacked man, um, what was your introduction to the X-Men? What kind of drew you to the X-Men and was like, hell yeah, I love this group of characters, because there's a lot to unpack. There's so many different mutants. It feels like I'm always learning about a new one.
Well, the X-Men with me, that's my comic book. So when I was a kid, like I would go to the grocery store with my mom, and like there's always like, when I was a kid, there was a comic book rack at the grocery store, and like so like you could call it bad parenting if you want to. My mom would leave me there. She'd be like,
It was
Did
I'm
the
getting,
that.
90s. It was
yeah,
fine.
I mean,
like
yeah, in
I'm
the
like
'90s you could
chilling.
do this.
Yeah. And I'm like 6 years old, like teaching myself to read at a comic book stand. And like Wolverine just looks so cool. Is like this dude is like got knives in his hands and he's like slicing people. This is
I
awesome.
mean, look at the
So like,
picture behind you. Yeah, that
yeah.
is badass. I mean,
Yeah. So I started like picking up like Marvel Presents Wolverine, and then I figured out he was in the X-Men. So then I started buying X-Men comics there. Every time I was leaving the grocery store, I was leaving with a comic book. And then the animated series happened.
oh yeah,
And oh god, dude, that's like
I
Batman the
love the
animated.
animated series.
I just gotta say, it's this first Batman the animated series is the best
Yes,
superhero animated series ever, and X-Men is too. And
I'd agree with that. I'd fully agree with that.
it's just
I own
they.
both of them in their entireties.
And I think that anybody like that watched that animated series was just like this is awesome. Like, because you just had so much going on. It wasn't your typical kids show. Like, there was, it's just so much, with what the X-Men stand for, like, it's, just bigotry and,
Yeah.
persecution and just being hated
Right.
for
Hmm.
something that you're naturally this way. Like, this is who you are.
Right. It was
A
very
lot of
symbolic.
parallels to
Yeah.
Hmm.
modern actual real life. I mean,
Well, I mean, yeah, and they did that with with race and sexual orientation
yeah.
and gender, even though X-Men started out very, very sexist. I mean,
Yes.
yeah.
It
I
did.
mean, Jean Grey, oh, our chef is out of town. Oh, I'm happy to make dinner, Professor Xavier.
uh, thank God for Chris Claremont. Thank God for Chris Claremont. He saved the X-Men. Uh, so I actually got a chance to meet Chris Claremont, which is like one of the highlights of my life. Just he's just responsible for what we have today. What people know of the X-Men, somewhere in there is Claremont. Like, you're never going to get away from it. So yeah, before him, it was just kind of like, ugh,
Yeah.
you know.
So yeah, the animated series, that was probably my introduction into the X-Men world. Because cartoons, who doesn't love like Saturday morning cartoons? And that was what was on. So I would turn it on, and then, like you said, you have Wolverine, who's just this big badass, and then there's a lot of action constantly through it. But they also had a lot of darker, deeper tones because they're mutants and they're not like normal people, and so that's one of the big points in X-Men is that they're hated on because they're these
Different.
freaks and different, and
Right.
a
And
lot of
it's all on
parallels.
Disney Plus now.
It is. You can catch the entire series. I've actually been letting my
Hmm.
son, who we were watching it a little bit at some point, just to kind of introduce him into this world. I mean, obviously, as a 4-year-old
Right.
should, his favorite is Spider-Man right now. But as he gets older, um, yeah.
My son Logan's favorite is anybody except Wolverine.
Well, look, my son is named after the Green Arrow. My daughter is named after the Red Arrow, in which my son loves Hawkeye, but he never talks about the Green Arrow. So
Nobody loves Hawkeye though.
that's true. That's true. Well, yeah,
I
that's
love
true.
Hawkeye because I feel like so many people hate him, so I feel like I need to love him.
I mean, he's
I'm
just kind
talking to
of
you,
there.
Tim, if you're watching this. This is
Just
for
kind of
you,
there.
Tim.
I don't
Right.
mind Hawkeye, but yeah, so there's been a lot of confusion as we obviously had the movies started in 2000. We had 2000 X-Men, X2 was 2003, The Last Stand was 2006, and then 2009 was X-Men Origins, which is the first like solo X-Men movie was Wolverine because of course he's your cash cow. And then 2011 you had X-Men First Class, which I loved. 2013 The
Hmm.
Wolverine, again. Then 14 Days of Futures
Good.
Past, 2016 Apocalypse,
Enjoyable.
2017 Logan, and then 2019 you had The Dark Phoenix, I guess. And then 2020 you had the New
That
Mutants.
was terrible.
Yeah,
Did anybody
so they
see that?
start off really well. I mean, for the first kind of big adaptation into the Marvel universe in a way. I mean, you had Blade come out around this time, but X-Men was like everybody
Right.
knew.
But Blade was standalone.
Yeah, so everybody knew the X-Men, and so 2000 you had X-Men come out, and it was a good movie. And then the subsequent movies get made, and they kind of fixed it with X-Men First Class, which I thought was a good film. Days of
Hmm.
Future Past, another good film, and
Hmm.
then Apocalypse
Mm.
comes out, and also in between that you had the Wolverine.
Oh, but you
I
needed some Japanese culture in there because that's so
No,
much a
you
part of who
didn't.
Wolverine
No,
is.
you didn't.
Oh
I
man.
No, you
Before we
didn't.
go any further, while you're on the subject, the Wolverine is such a like it bothers me so much. Um, I read that I'm a huge fan of the Japanese Wolverine comics. Like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, man, that was so great. Like him and the love triangle with Mariko, and and then he had this thing with Yukio, and then Mariko's father, and then like he had to like
Hmm.
defend himself as a Silver Samurai, and oh my gosh, when I watched that movie, I about cringed. I mean, it was so bad. like Hugh Jackman looked
It was
amazing.
awful.
Like he was
He
like,
did. No,
it
he
was like
did.
Hugh
Oh, and he
Jackman looks
almost like
great.
died on the bullet train or whatever.
Yeah.
But I guess for me, it's like even though it wasn't like
Mhm.
superb or whatever, and it wasn't the best of the movies, you needed to kind of immerse yourself in some of that Japanese culture for Wolverine because that's such a huge part of who he is
But
in
I
the
feel like they
comics.
Mhm.
And
ignored
they just completely
Japanese culture.
ignored that in the X-Men comics and
Mhm.
in Origins. And it's like we get a taste of it. So I guess even getting a taste of it, I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll deal with the taste of it just because you're at least acknowledging that
He
the Japanese
starved
culture
for
is such a part of
content.
who he is. Yeah, maybe.
Uh, I mean, it was good. I thought so. The first Wolverine they did, I thought was good. I liked Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth.
It was
Yeah.
good if what happened to Deadpool didn't happen to Deadpool. But it
Yeah.
didn't because
Yeah.
timelines changed. Deadpool was killed more than once because the timeline changed and Deadpool killed Deadpool.
So you obviously have to, yeah. So we had the first version of Deadpool, which, fun fact, Ryan Reynolds only played that part because he was promised an actual Deadpool movie. Of
But then
course, he was
why did he agree to the whole?
that. I mean, look, if you Ryan Reynolds Deadpool is something that's so dear to Ryan
You don't
Reynolds.
take the mouth away from the mirth with the mouth.
However,
You're
you don't, and he was basically like lied. He was lied to, and that's the only reason why he
Right.
did that. Um, and then
But I did
obviously,
like the Leave Schreiber.
yeah. And so you have a lot of good elements in these X-Men movies that I feel like one thing that I personally think stays constant throughout the whole thing is Cyclops is always getting shit on. I feel like
As
my
he
man
should.
Cyclops gets shit on in
no.
the comics, in the animated series, he gets shit on in the movies. What are your thoughts? I see you saying no. Like, what are your thoughts here?
I love Cyclops. Um, he people were like, "What?" And like, I love Cyclops. Like Cyclops got crapped on in the movies
He
badly,
did.
He did. He
just
did.
so
That
bad.
man.
Like the Cyclops for the comics would at least put up a good fight against Lady Deathstrike.
Yeah.
He would have put up a because he's smart. Like he was. They've written him pretty well in the comics, although they turned him more into like a bad. He was a bad guy there for a little bit, and now he's more of this antagonist hero. And but just real quick, when Cyclops had the Phoenix Force and he went up against Doom in the Secret Wars, that was so cool because he was like, "Look, I am life," and Doom is like, "Screw you," he's gone. So, but it was cool because Cyclops' character was in that. Like, it was like everything that was Cyclops. Like, he believed that mutants, are people so much that it made Xavier look bad. And so they
Yeah.
wrote Cyclops as this character who was just kind of like on the wayside, like, this guy that's always like there, and he's like either an asshole or he's like the goody two shoes. Like, you don't know who he
Right.
is. And if anybody can crawl underneath Wolverine's skin, it's him. Like, they
Yes.
are
Yeah.
so great
Yes.
together. Oh man. And I just hope Marvel, like, and I know they will, when Marvel gets them on the screen together and whoever they get to act, play the characters.
Well,
I know
Hugh
it's gonna be
Jackman will
awesome.
be
Well,
Wolverine
I
because
honestly didn't think
who
James
else can it
Marsden was
be?
a bad Cyclops. I thought he
No, he was
played
a
a
good
good
Cyclops.
Oh,
Cyclops.
he wasn't.
Yeah.
With what he was given, he was a good
No,
Cyclops.
he was a good Cyclops. And so I did look up like random movie fun facts. So Josh Whedon was involved in X-Men the first one, and he didn't most of his stuff got cut.
As it
Unfortunately, he
should.
was part of the line of what happens to a toad when it gets electrocuted. Same thing as everything else. Yeah,
I
he was
hate
responsible
Joss
for that.
Whedon. Oh God.
But he was also responsible for the interaction with Wolverine and Cyclops when he's like, "How do I know who you are, and you're not Mystique?" He's like, "You're a dick." And
Shing.
Cyclops goes, "Okay." That was Joss Whedon. So we can thank Joss Whedon for that. That's his only contribution to the
Oh.
X-Men universe.
Yeah, I thought they had good chemistry in that, and I gotta say, you're the first kind of Cyclops fan I've met out in the wild, so to speak, because everyone obviously loves your Wolverine and your Storms, but Cyclops is always my man's always.
Yeah.
I don't love him, but I don't hate him. I always thought he kind of is that leader. He's
Yeah.
kind of Captain America in the comics is but to the X-Men, he's
Hmm.
kind of that vanilla character who is that leader that you kind of need, that voice of reason at times, even though he is kind of a nerd, so to speak. Like, all right,
No,
whatever.
his only downfall is that he's standing next to Wolverine. That's it.
Yeah, that's the problem is
It's
they
like he's
always
married to Jean Grey, yet we're still like,
he's pit up
you're
against
not gonna
characters
get
like
her.
Wolverine, who everybody loves, so everyone
Right.
wants to pick on Cyclops.
Exactly.
Um,
I mean, he's the Easter Bunny. What are you gonna do?
that is also, yes, James Marsden picks. He's in Sonic, which was the highest grossing movie of 2020. So you put some respect
Because
on
no
Sonic's
Marvel
name.
movies came out.
You put some respect on Sonic's name, okay? It's the highest
Okay.
grossing movie of 2020. I don't care what you say, it still counts. My son loves that movie, but yeah,
Moving along.
the movies are good. I mean, X2 was kind of your like okay, and then The Last Stand, you're just full out. What the fuck is happening here?
It was
Why
bad.
are we in the
Ah,
It was
situation that
so
we're
bad.
in?
I
They
feel like The
obviously
Last
wanted
Stand was like a DC movie. No build
everybody.
up and then just
Well, the problem is, so you have the same writer who wrote the Dark Phoenix storyline in this, who also wrote the Dark Phoenix storyline in X-Men Dark Phoenix and Apocalypse. The problem with the Dark Phoenix
it all
is
makes sense
you
now.
can't just rush Dark Phoenix into one movie, which is what they kept
Right.
trying to do because they see Jean
She
Grey.
deserves
They
multiple
just want
stuff,
to
yeah.
ham fist Dark Phoenix in. So the Last Stand, yeah, it was Civil War before Civil War. Wolverine, it kills Jean Grey, blah blah blah. Beast, yeah, there's
I
some things
can't
that
believe you
happen.
spoiled. I can't think of
Uh,
anything I liked from that
uh,
movie.
I can't think
uh,
of a
you
single
know,
thing I like from that movie.
Kelsey Grammer was all right.
I
As
love him as
Beast,
the
okay, yes,
Beast.
Um,
I was trying to
Yes.
think of his name right there because I
And
was
like
he
like,
actually
it's the
asked to come
Beast who's
back
bad.
for Days of Future Past. He
yeah,
asked to come back.
yeah,
No,
that
he
was
is
like
good.
yeah,
But
that was
like
like my
last
favorite.
so Last Stand, I had to like not beg, but like my boyfriend at the time did not want to see that movie. I was like, I just want to see this movie.
Please.
Can we please just go? And the movie was so bad. He's looking at me in the theater like, really? You made me see this?
He watched more of staring at the side of your head than he actually
I
watched the movie.
never dragged that motherfucker to one fucking chick flick. And like that movie was so bad. It was
Listen, I
like,
don't even mind chick flicks, so.
yeah,
But
you
yeah,
watched The
the
Bachelor.
movie is awful. First of all, excuse you. Yes. Second of all, The Last Stand is worse than The
Terrible.
Bachelor. Okay.
I believe you. I believe you.
Yeah, the Last Stand was bad, and so we kind of go
I
from
own it, but I
last.
believe you.
Oh, you paid money for that? I mean,
Well, I bought the trilogy for like $10 at Walmart, like 15
so
years ago.
we
No,
get a 5 year break after
14 years
Last
ago.
Stand. Thank God. I mean, we do in a way that if you don't count the standalone Wolverine movie, because it's not like an X-Men movie, we go to First Class, which was actually a good movie
Yeah,
because it
It was
has
good.
so the cast, James McAvoy, who was fantastic as Professor X. This
Who
is
shaved
when
his head as soon as he got the role and then found out
yes,
he didn't need to shave his head and they had to add hair extensions.
this is also when Jennifer Lawrence still cared about acting and gave a fuck. So she was decent in it. Michael
She was good.
Fassbender,
I liked her.
Michael Fassbender was perfect as Magneto. I would love to see
Loved
him
oh
back as
him.
man,
Magneto.
Yes.
that's one thing. The one thing the Fox did well was casting the Magneto character.
Yes.
Ian McKellen was awesome, and then
Mm-hmm.
Michael
Oh
Fassbender
yeah.
was just badass too. It
I
was
mean,
just
Ian
great.
Yes.
McKellen's
Yeah,
great if you're going for that older Magneto, but Michael Fassbender as
yeah.
your
They were both
prime
beautiful. Yes.
Magneto. I loved him. And
Have
then,
you?
Kevin Bacon was in that movie, which
Oh
the question we
Yeah.
yeah.
got wrong at
He was. He was pretty good. I didn't mind him.
we got the question wrong. I totally forgot he was in that movie until our Super Hop Smackdown. Yeah, he's the bad
Wait,
guy in
that
the
was a
movie.
question in our Super
It
Hop
was. So
Smackdown.
it was like, what movie did he star in as the bad guy? I thought he was in a different movie. I can't remember what it was
Are
now.
you
But the
sure that was a
answer
question? I don't remember
it
that question
was
at
go
all.
back and watch it. I promise
Oh
you,
my god, I
it
need
was
to
a
go back and
question.
watch it.
But yeah, he's
We
in
would have
it,
won
and
a
then
lot earlier then.
you kind of see you can see some good characters pop up, and then of course you kind of see how Professor X ended up in the wheelchair. Um, we get a Wolverine movie in between. That one sucks.
But
Days of
that's not
Future
actually
Past.
how. In the comics, didn't something drop on top of him in the comics? And
I
that's
think
how he ended up
so.
in a wheelchair?
I can't remember.
It's.
I think
It
there's
wasn't a
different
magic
iterations, isn't there?
bullet kind of
It
thing.
was. From what I understand, it was his fight with the Shadow King.
Okay, got
Mm.
Uh,
you.
Yeah, I
maybe.
didn't think it was
No,
Magneto.
don't
I'll
quote
have
me
to
on
look it
that.
up. This will be on
It
our
has been
They
quoted, Micah,
things
on
that we
Hops
messed
Geek
up last
News.
week is what we're
yeah,
gonna figure out.
they don't like. There's so much backstory with Xavier and Magneto. Like they've made so many comic books about it. So
Yeah,
I like, but I feel like that he got into like it was between him and the Shadow King, and he lost his legs fighting the Shadow King,
got you.
which should be
Oh,
a Marvel character. Should be one of the people that go up against.
here this
But
says
Yeah.
yeah,
in the comics, an alien named Lucifer dropped a rock on the professor.
well, there we go.
No,
I knew it
that I
had something
mean,
to do with
this
a
is it.
rock.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously in the movie,
It
he
was
gets
not
his
a
stray
bullet in
bullets,
Cuba
It's
whatever.
kind of
or
lame.
Miami.
It is.
I would
Actually,
rather him fight the Shadow King. Like
yeah. Honestly, I was about to say I'd rather
I'm
him
gonna
fight.
paralyze you if you lock me in this
I mean,
dimension.
if
Yeah.
Felicity can put some microchip in her spine and just randomly get up in the middle of an argument and walk away, I feel like Xavier can walk as well.
Mark Guggenheim, you piece of trash.
Uh,
Is
well,
Too
Xavier
soon?
is walking now in the comics, and
he?
he's
Oh,
got
is he? I
and
did not know that.
he's constantly got Cerebro on his head. He looks kind of like the Maker. Yeah, like the Maker was the ultimate version of Reed Richards, but like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
Mm.
weird. But and he's totally badass. Oh man, he's so cool. But yeah,
Yeah. So we skip Wolverine again, and then we have Days of Future Past, which was actually really good because Wolverine goes back in time. You have the Sentinels,
It
tracking
wasn't. It
down all the
wasn't.
mutants. I thought it was good.
I like the whole Sentinels thing,
That
even though they looked way too much like the Destroyer from
yeah,
Thor.
yeah.
yeah.
But I had read some X-Men comics, so it was nice to see the Sentinels. But I didn't like the whole. I don't think Magneto would have been as quick to want to kill Mystique.
I
There
don't think
was no
Mystique should have been the center of any of these movies.
No, I don't either. Um,
there. I felt like there was not enough character development for him to get there, and you saw that same thing in Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, the problem they kind of run into with Magneto is, oh, he's a good guy, he's reforming, and then for no discernible reason, they just make him flip the switch because they always have to have Magneto toe the line and play that good guy, bad guy. And so in these movies, they just make him be a bad guy for no reason, kind of how I feel. So there was no character development for him really to give him reason to be this bad guy, I feel,
Hmm.
other than like, yeah, his family was murdered, but there's no other reason
But
besides
that's
that.
later. That's
Yeah.
after this.
Well, yeah, you're right. And
I
then
did like the magic bullet thing, though. The magic bullet thing was like, how else would you explain that? Oh, good point. How else
yeah.
would you explain that? It was
But
clearly a mutant.
Mystique should never. I think they focus too heavily on Mystique in these movies, and that's kind of where their other downfall is because first of all, Jennifer Lawrence stopped caring, and number two is Mystique's not this character that plays such a pivotal. She shouldn't be on the X-Men team, and yeah, I just was kind of over the Mystique character as a whole.
yeah, like Mystique, like it was just weird because I've always seen her as a bad guy.
Yeah, me too.
And
Hmm.
they reformed her into this good guy,
And
and
they
they
try to
really
make her a hero.
and they left first class with her kind of going that path of being the bad guy, and they really could have left it like that and not had her as the hero because that's what oh my god, that's the thing I hated the most about Apocalypse. But you know, they really could have like she could
That
have
was
been
it.
like this, in the ties to Xavier and everything. They still could have had that and could have had her as this, like, well, I care about Xavier, but I'm a bad person and I'm going to be a
Yeah,
bad person. And they could have done that, but no, they didn't.
yeah.
They're like, oh, Jennifer Lawrence has to be
Right.
the star of this
We have
movie.
to ham fist her in because she's the hottest thing on earth right now in the Hollywood world, and so
Well,
we
I think. Well, I think part of it's frustrating too. It's because like when they first made this movie, obviously they didn't expect this kind of universe to come from it. So it's like when they made Iron Man, they kind of did. So they took certain precautions, but it's like we go to Origins, and Origins is or First Class is a great movie, but you're still looking at it and you're like, it still doesn't align. And like what you're saying with Mystique, it's like, no, this is the Mystique we know is Rebecca Romaine, and it's just like
yeah.
she's just pure evil. So it was hard to make that transition. I think that's why it was so hard to see her in Apocalypse and these other movies. And yeah, you might be right because she became like a superstar after that, and they just
Well, she
ran
was
with
already
what
at
they
that was when she was
had.
at the height at that point. But it's okay
with
because
her
in Dark,
Hunger Games.
yeah, and but it's okay because in Dark Phoenix she dies, and that's Sophie Turner in her wooden acting kills her because we have Jean Grey once again. Let's just force the god. I
Yeah,
mean,
Sansa Stark
ah,
should stick to
I'm
running
sorry, I
Winterfell.
misspoke. She does not kill her in Apocalypse. That's in Dark Phoenix. My bad.
Yeah.
They kind of honestly these two movies blended together
No,
because they
because Phoenix
sucked.
or
She becomes
Sansa.
the Dark
Wait,
Phoenix to
yeah,
beat
okay.
Sansa Stark, aka Sophie
She
Turner, is
becomes
in
Dark
Dark
Phoenix in
Phoenix.
Apocalypse, beating
She does.
Apocalypse, and then but in the comics though, she becomes that like in space. Like
Yeah,
it
so
has,
it's like a
well, I guess she
space
did
thing.
that a
Like
little bit, but it
they
wasn't.
It
did
was
that. We could
oh
I
talk
don't
all
man.
day
know.
about that.
It just wasn't done
It
right.
was so bad. It just it's just oh god, it's so bad.
All
So
right, so
it
should
was
we
all
just go
bad.
to
It
what?
was all bad. I would say before we get to our fun facts, real quick, I would, Micah, if you could introduce the X Men in your own way into the MCU, how would you do it?
Man, that you're like that's what I think about when I'm bored.
That's honestly what I think about when I work. I'll be sitting there sometimes. I'm just like, I think they should do it this way.
This is a huge franchise for Marvel to do, and it's not just like I'm introducing Doctor Strange. No, it's like I'm introducing like the Avengers in a movie like now,
Mhm.
Where
and
we
it's
have
like
mutants now that we haven't had
yeah,
before.
yeah, and it's
And
basically like mutant
adamantium.
Avengers. So like I would do it gradually. Like I hope that this next wave, that the end credit scenes or they have, Easter eggs in there here and there. Like I'm really hoping we see something in Black Widow.
Hmm.
I really hope that we see something in I mean, there's a lot of rumors going around the internet, but you don't know what's true or not. But I,
Oh
I
yeah,
really like
absolutely.
to see, something going on, with Weapon X, which, Ross has already talked about it. It was in the Incredible Hulk. Like that was the
Yes.
whole thing that he put Blonsky through was Weapons Plus, and Wolverine comes from Weapons Plus because Wolverine is Weapon 10. Captain America was Weapon 1. Wolverine is Weapon 10. So they could totally jump on that and run with it. And like I daydream all the time, man. It would be so badass if like the two Black Widows, Yelena Belova and and Natasha Romanoff are stuck against Omega Red, and they see this other like frozen carcass, and she just somehow releases it, and it pops some claws and just totally fucks up Omega Red, and that's like a dream to me. But I know that's probably not going to happen in the Black Widow movie this early.
Well,
But
they've got
yeah,
mention of Omega Red possibly popping up either in the Falcon Winter Soldier, either as a
yeah,
cameo and stuff.
Well, and with Ross coming back and hoping that there would be cameos as far as Abomination, which is also a
Yeah.
product of
mm,
Well,
that.
they're talking about the Thunderbolts
Yeah.
cooking, which
yeah,
I do wonder if maybe the fact that we've had multiple snaps on Earth, they talked about gamma radiation, maybe
Hmm.
that kind of either that gives people mutant powers or maybe multiverse of madness starts to, Wanda allegedly is supposed to maybe lose her mind and she starts fucking with different multiverses. And so Doctor Strange, again, in Multiverse of Madness, they kind of do whatever. Maybe this is how they somehow loop mutants into the earth. And that's kind of what I'm thinking as far as mutants get introduced, probably gradually. Maybe they mess with the multiverse too much and now mutants are on earth and now they all intertwine in some sort of way.
yeah.
Man.
So I was thinking more like a more simple approach to it. Like mutants are there; they've been there.
Yeah.
They got snapped away too. They dealt with it in their own way. You
Yeah.
never heard about it. You didn't know about it because maybe there's a connection between Fury and Xavier. Like they know each other, and Fury's like, I'm not digging
Oh
into that, and we're
shit.
staying away from each other
Hmm.
because I mean that would be smart. Like you have this guy who's handling the mutants. So it's like Fury didn't even need to talk about it. He's dealing with Captain Marvel in space.
Yeah.
He's got injuries. Like, why would he even need to worry about it? Well, now there's a higher threat coming in a new way. In this next
Yeah.
wave of Marvel
Right.
movies. Hey, look, these people have powers since they were born. They're mutants. Like they could help you guys out and like tell the Avengers about it. And then you've got an X Men Avengers team up, or an Avengers versus X Men situation, which I would really like to see.
That'd be
Um,
nuts.
hmm
It'd be
Yeah,
like Ultron, but like multi-level
that
Like,
would be a
I
good
mean,
like phase 4
or
kind of
Civil War.
big, like your big bad guy in phase 4 is the X-Men versus Avengers, and then of course
yeah,
Agent Voices to fight maybe a bigger foe in phase 5. So that would, yeah,
What do you and then we've talked about this before. What do you think they'll do with characters that are mutants that they've treated like they're not, like Scarlet Witch, Mysterio, Quicksilver? Do you think they'll just be like, oh, okay, we're just going to pretend they're not mutants? Or do you think it'll be like, oh, well, their mutant abilities were here the whole time. They were just submissive or,
we
and
tapped
all of a sudden
into
we're
it. We
learning.
thought we
Right.
created them. Yeah.
Because it's
I
like, how
think
can you say we have these heroes and then all of a sudden these heroes are springing up? Like even Jessica Jones and Luke Cage.
Yeah.
like I think that maybe I think that they'll definitely make Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver both mutants, and I think Quicksilver's coming back. I don't see
Oh.
why they wouldn't bring him back. I think he might be a product. Scarlet Witch has resurrected him how many like several times in the comic books. Like she'll
But in
bring
the
him back
movie,
from
he's been
WandaVision.
dead for years.
Yeah,
Yeah, but maybe with
Well,
the
they killed
multiverse
him
of
off
madness and
because of
her and
the
WandaVision, maybe her craziness, because she allegedly
right,
goes crazy, maybe she brings him back.
right. And he was only killed off, I believe, because of the they weren't clear who owned him, Marvel or Fox.
yeah, yeah,
Well, guess
yeah.
what?
The
The
Fox
mouse
totally
owns everything
decided to
now.
fight with
Right,
that. Yeah,
exactly. Disney owns all of it.
I
yeah.
could see that happening.
But they said that Evan Peters is supposed to be in one of the movies coming up, and they don't know who he's playing, and they think
I'd
he's in
rather
Doctor
his version
Strange.
of Quicksilver, honestly, but
So, and I liked him. I thought he was cool. He's not Quicksilver from the comic books at all, but
no, no,
and neither was Aaron Taylor Johnson really. So,
Oh, so I was
but
gonna ask, which one do you think was
yeah,
more so?
neither. Like
neither.
Aaron was closer, just because I mean, but yeah, like Quicksilver is an asshole in the comic books,
But he's
and
always protective of Scarlet Witch, though,
very
even though
much.
he's
Well,
still
yeah,
kind of a dick to her, though.
Yeah, it's a twin thing, totally.
It was
I'd, ra-
also a misogynistic time.
If they did the Inhumans right and they had more of the Quicksilver Crystal love triangle thing going on in the MCU, that would be kind of cool. But
yeah,
I don't know. That's really his best writing was when he was like, crossing over from X Factor to Inhumans in the '90s. Unfortunately, and the comic book writing wasn't very good, but that was some of his best stuff.
You think if
Uh,
Inhumans had been good, they would have brought him in?
Maybe eventually, eventually if it was like all the legal stuff was cool,
Hmm.
I think
Right,
so.
right, right. Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean he was involved with Crystal for ever. Like it was always Quicksilver and Crystal, like they were together.
Huh.
So
I
yeah,
wonder if we'll see any of those characters again. I mean, I feel like they've written off that show like it never happened. I mean, I don't know a
because
single
it
person
didn't.
that finished it. I mean,
I
it was
don't even know
so.
a single person who watched it.
how many is
I
episode
watched the
3?
first 2 or 3 episodes. Of course, I was going to
Ooh,
give it a
how?
chance.
Wow,
It
that's
was
brave.
almost like Lost met Marvel because they had so many Lost characters. But then they also, it was okay. The thing that was wrong with it was you didn't know who to root for because one, they cast the dude from, I'm not kidding, they
Game of
cast the dude from
Thrones,
Game of
yeah.
Thrones. Right. They
Mm-hmm.
cast Ramsey Bolton to play this one dude. And like his brother's all superior than now. And you're like, okay, well, his brother must be the good guy because this is Ramsey Bolton. And then it's like, wait, the brother is all in this like caste kind of system where it's like you're just born into this, and if you're not inhuman, if the crystals don't turn you into an inhuman, you're bad. And then the people who do not react to this are revolting. So you don't know who to root for because then the
True.
people who are turning seem like genuinely good people like Medusa, and then they
Yeah.
end up on Earth and it's garbage. It's garbage.
The whole Medusa shaving her head, like hanging out with that girl, it was just like
And it was like immediately too. They made it like it was such like a kind of scene. And it's like, no, her head was shaved immediately.
Yeah. So we could talk all night about this. We gonna go ahead and wrap it on up here. Definitely, Micah, you're welcome back anytime.
To call
Um,
us out on our shit.
yeah, call us on our shit. You're welcome. If you wanna start hosting with us, you're more than welcome to even start hosting with us.
And we didn't get into why Old
mm,
Man Logan should not be
Yeah,
in the
we have a
MCU.
lot
well,
more, so there might be a part two.
yeah.
But where can people find you And do you have any shout outs, parting shots, things like that you'd like to give out?
Yeah, check me out on Facebook. It's Tavern Geek. Tavern Geek Brewing is my home brew thing that's going on. And you look me up on Facebook. I'm right there. And then I just want to get a quick shout out to my best friend growing up. He runs a CBD company. He's a hemp farmer. He grows everything himself. Everything he does is straight up, farm to table. It's
Nice.
called Olive and Rose Hemp Works. They're on Facebook, or you can go to oliveandrosehempworks.com. And I have some of the smokable flower right here. It's called Jack Frost CBG.
Oh, you gotta save that for Christmas.
Yeah. It's amazing. Just such a good person, and just has a real passion to help people with the CBD product. Check him out
For sure.
But that's it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you can catch us on our Thursdays. Pretty much is when we release our episodes. If you search Hops News on your Amazon, your Google, Spotify, Apple, youtube.com/Hops News. We are part of like a Hops News streaming network is the easiest way to put it, since there's so much going on underneath that umbrella. Every week we talk about something new. Subscribe, like, share us, find us on Instagram, Hops Geek News. You can find me at Matthew Tyler. You can find Hoppy at the Hoppy Mommy. And Thursday nights, Hops News, Hoppy Hours, where we talk about different breweries and raise money for good causes. So really appreciate everyone listening. And Micah, again, thank you so much for coming on, talking with us. We have a lot more conversation that could definitely happen. So
Yeah.
look forward to having you on again to talk. So cheers.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Awesome.
Yes, cheers.
This has been a Hops News production. You can find Hops News on all your favorite podcasts and social media platforms at Hops News. Cheers.